With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Single Muslim Live, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. With me, Nazia Khatun. We are here live on Sky 752 and across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For those of you who are joining us, a very warm welcome, and please join us in tonight's discussion and get advice and simply calling through to the studio on 01924231083. Standard rates apply, so please make sure that you have the bill from the person who's paying the bill, and why not share your thoughts in confidence by messaging us on 07950797017. Now today's guest is Afzal Ali from Birmingham, and we have a very, very hot topic called Finding Love During Ramadan. Afzal, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you so much for having me. How are you? I'm good, thank you.
No, it's been very well. It's been a pleasure. We finally have a man to speak to on the show. We've been having a lot of female guests, so thank you for representing the brothers.
No, thank you so much for having me.
We have a topic today called Finding. Welcome. The topic is today about finding love during Ramadan, and we wanted to ask you some questions around this topic around Ramadan and just get to the point of finding out what advice you have to give us. Now, firstly, can you explain to the viewers a bit about your Instagram page and how you are actually helping Muslims find love?
First of all, assalamu alaikum to all the viewers. Hope you're blessed. Basically, my platform is around Instagram, and how it works is I'm the host. I bring males and females on live for an interview. I ask them questions regarding marriage. So, for example, what are they looking for? What are their deal breakers, etc. Trying to get at their personality as much as possible. Once the interview's over, if anyone is interested in themselves, I do tell them to message them with a profile and a profile picture, and then inshallah I take it from there. It's something new. I've been doing it for about 2 months now, and I've had an amazing response. And yeah, that's how it works, really.
What's been the success rate so far then?
I've been doing it for 2 months, so it's kind of new, but I do get told all the time there's matches being made, people are talking, families are involved. But in terms of actually getting married, I haven't really heard any feedback in that. It's only been up and running for 2 months, but I do hope, inshallah, the more it carries on, people will get married off and they'll tell me, and then I can go to weddings and stuff. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Why do you think it's important for people to find love right now?
First of all, we're in the lockdown, and it's been hard on people in terms of trying to find a spouse. A lot of the avenues are closed off in terms of marriage events, Rish the auntie and so on and so forth. I think that's one of the reasons why people are finding it hard. They can't go out and about. So the platform that I'm creating is something different. People are always on social media. They're trying to interact. So that's really why people are finding it hard, because of the lockdown. They can't really get out. So hopefully by doing this, it gives people a different avenue to try and find the ideal partner.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Why have you taken it on yourself then, Afzal, to help people find love? What made you become interested in this topic and the way you set up the Instagram page?
Sorry, you cut off. I didn't hear you properly.
The question was, what made you find interest in helping people find love?
Okay, so first of all, I've been looking for 10 years, and I know how hard it is, how difficult it is to find that special person with all the different avenues. And I've always been a person that tries to help people. So it was actually someone that created this kind of a platform, and I thought I could do the same thing and maybe offer something different, and it seems to be working. There's other pages that do it. So I thought, why not? I can bring my own kind of spin to it and my own kind of knowledge and stuff. So that's what prompted me to do it. And plus, I kind of have a thrill for hosting. So that's what made me do it. And I've been doing it ever since, and we're going from strength to strength. So yeah, that's what prompted me to do it. And I just want people to find it a lot easier in terms of finding a space. Because in my 10 years, I've found that it's very hard to stick out. And on social media, when I do bring people online and, ask them questions regarding marriage, they do get a good response because you're in front of the public eye, and people see you in a way that they might not normally see you when you come on and you talk. So that's what spurred me to do it, really.
Yeah, it's a very delicate topic, finding love. I mean, forget being in the pandemic, just outside this pandemic, this crisis. And we have a lot of issues in our community as well, in terms of the traditional setup, the modern day setup, social media being out there. And it's a very creative way. It's a very creative way that you find yourself doing this. And it's come from your own personal struggle, I guess, to help other people as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's come from my own personal struggles. I know how hard it's been trying to find someone. I mean, I've been on apps. I've tried Wish Their Auntie and stuff, and it's never cut it for me, really. Different, a lot of people have their own avenues, but for me, it's been a struggle. And what with social media, everyone's on there. So I just thought, why not do it, go ahead and see how it happens. And I haven't looked back ever since, really. I know it's really hard for people out there, and hopefully this kind of a platform can help people.
Yeah, thank you. Look, with Ramadan coming up now, after that, a lot of people will be struggling to manage their desires. What advice would you give to single Muslims to control the urges in, both lockdown and Ramadan coming up? What would be your best advice for people out there?
So first of all, Ramadan is a month it helps control your urge anyway, because when you're fasting, you don't have them kind of urges that you would have outside. What with fasting, it depletes your energy and stuff. My advice would be really to try and seek help from Allah, first of all, of course, making lots of dua, and try and connect yourself with the Quran, of course. I know it might be it's a bit harder than what's been said, but if you really try and connect yourself with the month of Ramadan, fasting anyway, it tends to control your urges that you wouldn't really have. And yeah, that's my advice, really. Try and focus on Ramadan as much as possible, and now's the month to ask Allah whatever it is that you want, and inshallah it will happen.
Do you think it's possible to still look for a partner during Ramadan while you are still fasting?
I think it's a lot harder than usual, but as long as you do it within the Islamic boundaries, I don't really see why it's an issue. I don't really see why it's an issue, as long as you're not saying stuff inappropriate, or you're not doing anything that's inappropriate in terms of Islamic boundaries. It shouldn't really be a problem. Don't you agree? As long as family is involved and you're not meeting people the way you're not meant to be, it shouldn't really be an issue. But I know a lot of people that do put.
Okay.
That do put,
so let's.
Sorry.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that do put finding a spouse on the back burner during Ramadan, and I do understand why people do that, but it's not really an issue as long as you're doing it Islamically within the boundaries. It's not. I don't think it's really an issue. Would you agree?
I give up in Ramadan time. But just say, for example, this Ramadan, I went to look for my spouse and everything, and I came to you for advice. What would be your tips for me to keep it halal and, staying away from those desires, those urges? How would you advise? How would you advise a sister, actually, and then how would you advise a brother as well? What are the differences? What would you say to them?
That's a very good question. That is, I think it's universal. It's not just for brothers and sisters. One thing that I always do tell my followers when they come on for an interview is that once you find a person compatible, get your family involved as soon as possible. I honestly believe, from my experience, that once family are involved as soon as possible, it gets rid of the serious people as opposed to the non-serious people. Because when people know family is involved, they know it's serious, and the so-called not so serious people, they get going, if that makes sense. So that's what. Sorry, what was the question again? I'm going off I'm going off the topic a bit.
No, you're fine. I was asking, like, what advice would you give to people who are probably searching for their partners during Ramadan? And would their advice be different from a sister and a brother?
No. Definitely during Ramadan, if you come across someone, do get family involved. And if you want to meet up, go to the house. You can even break iftari together. It doesn't have to be, so awkward the way our communities have made it. I think, Nazia, when it comes to meeting people always leave getting families involved to the last minute, and it shouldn't really be like that. It should be from the offset.
Yeah.
Meet families and like that. So if you were to find someone during Ramadan, why not go to the houses, talk, and even break iftari together. That way you can find out what the family is like. You can find out a lot of questions that you wouldn't. So that would be my advice to people. It's still 100% possible to get to know someone during Ramadan.
I love that, because I never really thought out of the box to think, oh my God, you can actually get to know somebody and have iftar. So this is like a mind-blowing advice, to be honest with you personally. So anybody who's watching this and thinking, oh my God, lockdown is happening, and then we've got Ramadan coming up, and we need to make a move on finding a spouse. Asal is basically telling us it is possible. It is doable. It's about staying in the right, correct format of Islamic teaching and making sure that we are actually protecting ourselves as well and enjoying Ramadan in the best way possible. We will be going on a break soon. And those of you who have joined us, the topic is about finding love during Ramadan. I would love to hear from you. Give us some of your advice. What's worked for you? What's not worked for you? On 079 507 97017. Speak to you soon.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. And today's guest is Afzal Ali, and the topic is finding love during Ramadan. And before we went on break, we were talking about what advice would Afzal give somebody who's trying to find the spouse in Ramadan. I would love to hear from you. So please make sure to join the discussion on 079 507 97017. Afzal, are you still there?
I'm here, live and kicking.
Just making sure. I want to go back to the question I just asked you before break, and that was, what advice would you give to somebody trying to find love in Ramadan? And you answered it in a beautiful way, like you can go to iftars, meet up with their family, get to know each other. Do you really think that when we are fasting 10th of the day, that we as human beings are at our truest form of our personality and character? Like, do we get to meet people for who they are if they weren't fasting? What would be your take on that?
I think Ramadan is the kind of month that it brings the best out of people, even the so-called non-practicing people. Everyone knows that when Ramadan comes around, it's my time to try my best. That's what normally happens anyway. So people are trying to be on their best behavior. I think it does, to a certain extent, bring out the person's true oneself. And hadith comes to mind that during Ramadan, all the shayateen, they're locked up. So, we don't have them influences that we normally have outside of Ramadan, because all the shayateen, they're locked up anyway. So people tend to be on their best behavior. But obviously you do get the people that they do act the way they do. But in terms of Ramadan, I think universally people try their best, they get into the mode of Ramadan, and one's true form does come out to a certain extent.
Thank you for that. I truly believe that we are in our purest form, and our soul and our nafs is very clean. So who we really are really shows up, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
Yeah, no doubt. No, of course.
Lovely. Thank you. So people who are already in marriages and they are going through Ramadan together, and I think this year is going to be, it's been intense with the lockdown. We've had a whole year where couples have been together. They've had no separation. They've had no time to themselves. And Ramadan comes, those emotions can get intensified. How would you then advise people to keep romance alive, to keep love alive during Ramadan?
I think the best way to keep romance alive during Ramadan is try and do as much as you can together, in terms of reading Quran together, reading your Salah together. Obviously, the mosques are closed, but inshallah, they'll be opening up again. So couples can go to read Tarawih together, obviously with social distancing. But yeah, I think Ramadan's the kind of month that people should do a lot more together. And in terms of preparing for iftari, husbands and wives, they can help out in the kitchen, prepare food together, go shopping together, and try and come together, as opposed to they wouldn't really do that. So it's a great month for couples to try and get together, really.
I think one of the advice that I give to people as well is, during Ramadan, you can actually rekindle a lot of communication together, because you have to work together in Ramadan. Who's doing what? Who's going to be doing the cooking? You have to come together to bond. So people who have maybe distanced themselves away from one another in lockdown, maybe there's a great opportunity to actually come back to one another as well and find out what you can do to serve one another. So it's a beautiful time to be going on a spiritual journey and reconnecting those old connections, I guess, as well, right?
No, definitely. I agree. Ramadan's the kind of month that it's about sharing, giving. Like we touched on earlier, it brings the best out of people. And in terms of keeping the romance alive, you can't really do much in terms of I guess it's a different dynamic as opposed to normally you could go out. We can't really do that now, so we have to try and come up with ways in the house to try and keep the romance alive. Definitely now that the mosques are opening, couples can go and read in the mosque together. You can read Tarawih together, and especially couples that have kids, they can try and help them and do things more together as opposed to not to. That's what keeps the romance alive. The husband can do stuff for the wife vice versa. So definitely.
I'm just gonna go off track a little bit. Now, when I was Googling Ramadan, it was just a question I put on there. I just put down Ramadan, and on Google, the first question that came up was, can I still kiss during Ramadan, right?
Oh my God. Okay.
It was the first question that came up. And
Yeah.
it's something, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong as well on this as well. I remember there was this, I went to a talk and the sheikh there was explaining to us the bond, the relationship between a husband and a wife is the most important relationship in a marriage. And what he said was, the sheikh was telling us, the Prophet, peace be upon him, showed so much love to his wife during Ramadan through lots of love, like hugs and affection. And this is something we probably misunderstand and we stay away from one another, but the importance of it is to connect again. Just elaborate a bit about that, and what do you know about that as well, just to share some information.
Definitely, like if I can mention a couple of hadiths and ayahs from the Quran. First of all, the Prophet that said that the best of you are those that are best to your wives. And likewise, Allah says in the Quran in chapter 33 that in the Prophet you have the best example. So obviously, as Muslims, we should always try and imitate the Prophet. And you're right when you say, Nazia, that the Prophet was the most caring person, you know, towards his women folk in the house. Sorry, what was the question? I totally forgot.
The question was, you know, like how people think that you can't be affectionate towards your spouse. And the question is always asked, can I kiss my spouse? And I was literally just saying how the teachings, like you just said, to be affectionate, what are the rulings around that, and what's your take on that, and what advice can you give to people to actually connect without breaking a fast?
Well, I think in terms of being affectionate during Ramadan, I don't think it's permissible to, I'm not too sure, I'm not a scholar, you know, I don't want to be quoted on this, but for what I know, obviously I'm not married, so I wouldn't know this in detail, but from the knowledge that I have is during the day, anything that jeopardizes breaking your fast, you should stay away from it. So my advice to people out there that want to get affectionate during Ramadan, do try and do it after iftar when you've broken your fast, because anything that does jeopardize your fast breaking, you want to stay away from it. So I don't know the exact rulings on what breaks your fast, but from what I understand is that, you know, being affectionate during the fast times, it does jeopardize. So I'd say to people out there that do want to express their love is try and wait till after you break your fast, and obviously before the fast closes. That will be my advice to people out there. And naturally, when you're, sorry, I'd just like to add, naturally, when you are fasting, your energies are low anyway, and you don't have that testosterone level or that estrogen level that you would have as opposed to eating. So naturally, you're deflated in terms of energy. So yeah, that should kind of stop you from trying to want to be affectionate with your partner while you're fasting.
Thank you for that. How important do you think it is then to find a life partner then, Afzal?
I think it's very important because going back to the Prophet, he said that marriage is half your deen, and let the person fear Allah when it comes to the other half. Marriage is, you know, it's an essence of life in terms of finding your life partner. Our religion, it plays a massive role on getting married. If you look at hadith books and stuff, there's so many chapters on marriage and the etiquettes of marriage. So it's important, you know, without a life partner, you can't do things that naturally you want to do, whether it's, you know, companionship, traveling, you can do, but it's different when you have a life partner to do that, your ups and downs, you have someone to support you. Naturally, Allah's made it in us to, you know, want to be loved and show affectionate feelings to a human being. So it's important, and unfortunately people out there, they're struggling really hard when it comes to finding a life partner. And if I can tie it back into what I'm doing, I'm just trying to help people make that journey a little bit easier and a little bit less hard. So it is very important to find a life partner, because if you don't, you're going to end up going outside the Islamic boundaries, i.e. zina and, doing stuff that our religion prohibits really. So it's massively important.
Yeah, and I think also coming out of lockdown, a lot of people will be in a rush to go and find their spouse. And my advice is actually take some time to find yourself in society again before you start rushing to look for somebody. And we spent a whole year in lockdown where people will have, emotions of loneliness seeking in. So the idea is to use Ramadan as a way of coming back to yourself before you start going out looking for people, right? Or a spouse.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, you're right what you're saying. It's been a very hard time for people during the lockdown. But within this time, we should have done a lot of soul searching anyway. We should have, it's not okay. We should have worked on ourselves a lot during this time. And I do believe that going outside of lockdown, there's going to be a surge in people wanting to get married. Yeah. They want to look, and so they should really. You can't expect to find a life partner by not doing nothing. You have to put yourself out there. You have to put yourself in positions that you wouldn't normally do.
Afzal, I'm going to stop you. We have a break, so please make sure you come and join us. The topic is finding love during Ramadan.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamualaikum and welcome back to another show, and the topic today is about finding love during Ramadan, and we have Afzal Ali as our guest today. Love to hear your discussion points, advice, tips. Did you find love during Ramadan? Are you looking for love? What are you struggling with, and how maybe are you trying to find love this year after the lockdown? I'd love to hear from you, so please make sure you message us on 07950797017. I'm going to go back to Afzal, literally talking about finding ourselves during this whole year of lockdown before we go out searching for our spouse. Can you just quickly go back to how important that is and not to rush the situation maybe?
When it comes to finding a spouse, you mean, not rushing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you're right. You shouldn't really rush when it comes to finding a spouse. Really work on yourself in terms of how you are, how you would describe yourself, and what it is that you're actually looking for. Because I've come across so many people, they're looking for a certain thing, but when it actually comes down to it, they're looking for something totally different. So I think definitely during this Ramadan, for people that are looking to get married, find out within yourself what it is you really want and what you're really looking for. For example, on my platform, I come across people. I'll give you an example. They're looking for, when it comes to height, they might be looking for someone that's, taller, but then when they come across someone, they're only lacking in 1 or 2 inches, for example. And it's not necessarily something that should be a deal breaker. People have different qualities to make up for that. So you want to really, you're not going to find the perfect person. You never are. We've been sold that dream of Hollywood, Bollywood. That person's going to be perfect. They're going to come along and they're going to sweep you off your feet. It doesn't work like that. I'm sorry to say. We have to kind of. Yeah, you're laughing, but trust me, I do come across a lot of these scenarios. We have to try and make sacrifices in terms of what you're looking for. So what if someone's an inch shorter, or they might not, be making the kind of figures that you want them to make in terms of a job? We have to kind of, the word is compromise that I'm trying to looking for. For example, myself, I'm getting older, and I have to really look at myself in the mirror and think, the older I get and the more wiser I get throughout life. These kind of characteristics we're looking for, we need to compromise on them, and not always try and set the bar so high, because you're just setting yourself up for fail, because you might miss a real gem along the way. So find out what it is that you really want, and be willing to compromise on that to a certain degree. Don't compromise on it totally, but be willing to compromise and try and meet 50-50, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I was laughing because when I was young, that's why it's like, you're not tall enough, you're not this and this enough. And really and truly, it comes down to, I'm not telling anyone to lower your standards. It's finding out what you really desire and need, and look at somebody's characteristics, if they can look after you, if they can provide for you, going for a man and a woman as well. What would be your ideal perfect date during Ramadan then as well?
Oh, wow. That's an amazing question. And a lot of my viewers that are listening, when I do bring someone on for an interview, the first thing I ask them, Nazia, is that what would be your idea of a perfect Saturday evening? So it ties into what you say. I think for me, if I was to get married, I can tell you've been watching me, so fair play. I think my perfect idea of a date during Ramadan would be, it's kind of hard. We can't do a lot of things that we normally do, like go out to restaurants and go to cinema and stuff. But my perfect idea of a date during Ramadan would be helping my missus, and obviously she helping me prepare the food, and just break fast together, really, and make dua in each other's presence, read salah together, maybe be with family and stuff. So that would be my idea of a perfect Saturday evening. What would be your idea of a perfect Saturday evening, like, perfect date during Ramadan?
I was thinking about this, and I was just thinking, what would it be? And I would say, feed me. And that's it. Feed me. Actually, you know what? I say that and I laugh about it, but my perfect date in Ramadan would probably, like you said, getting together, doing our salah together, maybe going to the mosque, break the fast. And for me, it's very important to train after I've broken the fast, done the namaz and everything. So that would be a very, very huge element of the togetherness, the connecting and finding out how each other's day was and everything. And yeah, I think it's just those small, simple things that we probably overthink, but it's what creates the bond. It's what creates the harmony in relationships. So we shouldn't forget the small things, the nice little gestures, whether it's even date night during Ramadan, it's doable. Get some flowers, chocolate. It's doable, isn't it?
No, of course. Definitely. We don't have to make it hard on ourselves just because it's Ramadan and what with our situation, lockdown, we don't have to make it hard on ourselves. There's plenty of ways to make it romantic and make it keep the romance alive, and it's just about finding them ways, really.
Yeah. What tips would you our viewers then? What tips would you give to our viewers then who are probably seeking a partner and maybe frustrated at this time?
Sorry, what was that? What tips would I give to people that are searching for a partner? Is that what you said? It cut off.
Yeah, and maybe because they're frustrated with the lockdown and everything, what would be your top tips?
Well, my number one top tip is come to me on Instagram and let me help you through Afi's live. That will be my top tip. Let me see if I can help people out. But definitely, I think my top tip, even during Ramadan, is put yourself out there in obviously within the Islamic boundaries. Do try and put yourself out there in terms of finding a spouse, because too often people say that they want to get married, but unfortunately they're not putting themselves out there. You can't expect to get married by sitting at home and not doing anything, whether it be the apps, whether it be family or friends, or even whether it be through My Lives. We need to get ourselves out there and put ourselves in that kind of arena. A lot of the times people, they just think that I'll find someone eventually, but if you're not going to do nothing about it, it's not going to happen. And Ramadan shouldn't be an exception, really. You don't have to stop looking. You can carry on looking. There's plenty of avenues out there. And I think, sorry, were you going to say something?
Yeah, but I see, what element do you think is a healthy boundary for yourself when we say putting ourselves out there in terms of social media? It's become very toxic at the moment. People who go online dating at the moment, we just don't know what people have gone through. So in your opinion then, I mean, what is a healthy number of apps to have open? We've got so much out there in order to find a spouse. What is a good, healthy one for ourselves then?
That's a good question, that as well. I think a healthy one would be, oh wow, that's a good question, that is. I think really, as long as you're putting yourself out there, but at the same time you're not jeopardizing your own mental health. I think the more apps, my general motto is get yourself out there as much as possible, as long as you're not impacting your mental health or your mental well-being. I think there are a lot of avenues out there in terms of looking for a spouse, but as long as you're actively looking, there's not really an unhealthy way of finding a spouse. Like, for example, for me, I've been searching 10 years, and I honestly feel there's not enough avenues out there in terms of finding someone. We have the apps, marriage events, which a lot of people don't even know about. There's a lot of stigma around there. And I don't think there's ever any too many avenues. I think the more the better. If it means that people end up finding a spouse, it can only be a good thing, really. So I think the call is the more avenues, the more platforms there are that help people get married, the better, really. And if they were free, that will be even better. Yeah.
I think as long as we're not distracting us, I think it's what the point I'm trying to make is we have what we call the instant gratification. If one thing doesn't work out, we go to the next. And if that doesn't work out, we keep going to the next. So people keep jumping. So it's a good idea just to give yourself a chance and give the person a chance as well, rather than jumping. My next question to you then is, so thank you. Those were really, really amazing points. The next question is, what do you, in your opinion, what is a successful relationship?
Sorry, what was that? I didn't hear you.
Actually, we got 1 second. I think we have a caller from Stoke-on-Trent. Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hi, Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, my name's Paul. Hello?
Hi, Paul.
Hello. How do you find love in Ramadan? How do you find love with Ramadan, during Ramadan? Hello?
Say that again, sorry?
Oh, the question is, how do you find love during Ramadan?
How do you find love during Ramadan?
Yeah.
Afzal, we've got a break coming up in 60 seconds. The question is, how do we find love during Ramadan?
The first thing is ask Allah, obviously, to help you find love during Ramadan. The first thing, that would be the first thing. And then the second thing is put yourself out there in terms of the different avenues, whether they be marriage apps, whether they be my Instagram lives. There's so many avenues out there that you can find love. But definitely the first one would be turn to Allah. ask him to help you. Like Allah says in chapter 40, verse 60, call upon your Lord and I shall respond. So that will be the first call. Call upon Allah, and then definitely.
Thank you. Afzal, we're going to come back.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Welcome back, Assalamu alaikum, and today's topic is finding love during Ramadan. I have been discussing this with lots and lots of questions with Afzal Ali, and if you haven't tuned in, please make sure you do now, and I would love to hear from you as well on 079 797 Now, Afzal, the last section of our conversation, and I have a very tricky question for you. Do you think it is harder to find love for men or women?
Oh, wow, that is a really tricky question, that is. No, I don't think so, really. I think it's tricky for both parties, to be honest with you. It all comes down to the individual, what your requirements are, what you're looking in a spouse. I think that's what it really comes down to, the individual. I don't think it's just for the males or the females, because I don't believe that for a second. I think it comes down to every single individual. When someone's got a long list of requirements, it's just not going to happen, really, as opposed to, you might have a male that has only a certain amount of requirements, and then you have a female, and vice versa. I think it comes down to the individual and what they require. I think it's not a gender problem. I just think it's an individual problem, really.
Very interesting, because I always thought, especially in modern day society, we've become very far removed away from following traditional relationship, courting, dating ideas from what our parents did. And the fact that we have so much choice at hand now, it's become more of an issue. Maybe for females, in my opinion, and that's because I'm a woman. I feel like it's been 10 times harder. For you as a brother, do you feel like it's been a struggle in the last 10 years? And what has been the struggle then?
For me, it has been a struggle, simply because of the fact that I believe I haven't put myself out there as much as I should have. When I was 21, 22, in my early 20s, I didn't really put myself out there. I thought that our marriage is something that would happen later on in life. But in hindsight, I wish I started a bit more earlier. And in terms of my own personal experience, all I ever used to do was be on the apps. That's all I ever used to do. And in hindsight, it didn't work for me at all. I wish I tried different avenues earlier. I wish I got my parents involved. I wish I got out there more, in terms of the avenues that we have, marriage events, looking on social media. It is a way of finding people, believe it or not, being on social media. So my struggles have been, hard, but I think that's really down to myself. I didn't put myself out there as much as what I should. I kind of just thought that, it would happen, but obviously it didn't happen, and that's down to me, really. I should have gone out there, asked people, look, I'm looking to get married. My mates, even I'm looking to get married. Let's do something about it. What kind of avenues can I take? What kind of steps? So that's my own personal journey, really. And I only really got my family involved in terms of the searching process recently. My parents started searching, but I wish I did that before. It would have been a lot easier, I believe.
I love the fact that you're so honest. I love the fact that, you know, it takes a very strong personality to admit that maybe you're the one to blame for not putting yourself out there. And putting yourself out there is actually very scary. It's another chapter of our lives as well. So thank you for sharing that moment with us as well. How do you then know when you found the one?
Wow, that's $1 million question. That is, Nazia. How do you know you find the one? I think first of all is always, as Muslims, we should pray anyway, but always make dua to Allah that He puts it in your heart when you do come across someone that is a potential. I think something that's not used very often is istikhara. Like, for example, now if you come across a potential, you know, really try and focus on the spiritual aspect in terms of asking Allah, always make dua, always do istikhara, and going with your gut feeling. You know, you should have it in you, and always try and you know, look at the good things in the person that you've potentially matched, as opposed to the bad things. And also it brings the hadith into mind that the Prophet said that a person should be married for 4 things. I believe it's the deen, the beauty, the wealth, and the family lineage. You know, a person can be married for any of those 4 things. So you know, when you think you've come across the right person, also is ask your family what they think. You know, Islamically, we should get families involved and speak to your family. They're the best people. They want the best for you. So ask them. Sometimes asking it always does help, because our families, they've been through it. They know what it's about. Like Allah says in the Quran, ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. And that's relevant in every single aspect. For example, marriage. If I came across someone that I like, I'd ask people that are experienced. I'd ask people that have been through it, just to get their input. And normally when you talk to people, it does put your mind at ease, and you know, it helps the whole process in terms of knowing if this person's the one. They can help you, they can guide you. So definitely, you know, those kind of things should be taken into sorry, I've lost the word. They should be taken into in the mind.
Consideration. There's a lot of information there. So there's a lot of things I'm learning from you as well. So it's important that we ask these delicate questions as well. What do you reckon is the misconceptions of love in today's society, really?
Well, I think that's a really good question, and I touched on this before. I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people have is we've been sold the so-called Bollywood, Hollywood dream. We think that, you know, we think that it's all about running in the mountains and, you know, singing songs and stuff like that. But it's very well far from that. Like, as a South Asian guy myself, I'm sure you can relate to this. We've been brought up watching movies, Bollywood, whether it be Hollywood, and we always think that'll be fun and rosy, but it's far away from that. And also, I would like to touch on the whole social media aspect. Everyone's on there. You know, we're all on social media, and sometimes it's sad to say that, you know, it does put a negative aspect on, you know, when it comes to females, for example, they aspire to be, you know, like people they see, people they look up to, and it can be very fake at times, social media. Same with guys as well. They aspire to be, you know, like these male role models, and it does play a negative part on, you know, looking for a spouse, because social media always portrays the good part of people, and you always want that, and it can be a massive hindrance in terms of looking for a spouse, because you might come across a potential, but then they don't live up to your so-called social media mindset that you've built up over the last few months or years. So misconceptions are out there, and we have to break them, really. And that's what it's what we've been brought up on believing. And yeah, I think it's very real.
No.
And I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, the next question for me was to ask you, do you think then social media is helping people find love, seeing the fact that we can play a double life with so much filters? It's so easy to lie now. So is social media really helping us, or is it taking us a step back when it comes to finding love?
I think it's a double-edged sword, really. There are a lot of benefits in terms of social media, and like you said, there are a lot of negatives. But it's all how you use it, really. For example, if you want to find a spouse, do come to my platform. That's one of the reasons why I've set it up. People are on social media all the time. Yes. Sorry, if you could repeat the question, it's gone out of my head again.
No. You just answered it, and the question really was just to go back to is social media helping people find love, or is it making us go backwards because there's so much going on with we're able to lie with filters? It's like a different personality. But no, you answered that question really well, and I think it's important for us to understand and distinguish what is the things that we've learned from movies and what are the things that we see as couple goals. The reality of it isn't actually true. People can lie about things. We don't see their 24 hours. We don't get to see all of their lives, the bad, the negative, and everything. So it's really important to address that as well. I want to quickly, we're nearly wrapping up here, Afzal, and let's go back to the question that I asked you before. And to finish this off is, what would be your tips, your top 3 tips for people trying to find a partner in Ramadan?
First tip is ask Allah, make a lot of dua. Second tip is get yourself out there in an Islamic, within the Islamic boundaries, search as much as you can. So that would be the number one, is ask Allah, of course. Second is get yourself out there, whether they be the apps, whether they be my Instagram lives, whether they be through family. And third tip is what I say to everyone is, as soon as you find out that someone's compatible, get family involved and, take it from there, really. So that would be my top 3 tips.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And you can find Afzal Ali on Instagram. And if you want to connect with him, please drop him a DM. What is your Instagram name?
So the platform that I'm currently operating is called Afy's Live, which is AFYS_live. That's the platform there. I do Instagram lives every Saturday. So I do look forward to seeing you all, and hopefully, inshallah, with the will of Allah, I can help everyone. So that's where to find me, Afy's Live.
Thank you so much, Afzal. And thank you to my guests today. It's been an honor to have spoken to you. And if you have any questions, please, for next week's show, please forward it to us on 079 507 797017 from myself and the team. Assalamu alaikum.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.